Hello. I'd like to talk to you about an important issue that concerns many teachers, that of raising the levels of performance in literacy and numeracy. Reaching a national benchmark, as defined by the NAPLAN, means reaching a level or a score on the NAPLAN scale of 200, 300, 400 or 500 for grades 3, 5, 7 or 9 respectively. It's about reaching a score and a level of competence in reading, writing and mathematics. But reaching a level of reading or mathematics that enables a person to participate independently in a community is a little different to reaching a level of reading and mathematics that enables a person to study and learn independently. Raising the level of basic skills involves more than just improving a test score, but the test of competence is a necessary first step to get that first piece of information. In working together, we'll be using techniques that have been identified over the past 4 to 5 years. The results have been compelling, and we think that if schools adopt these procedures, then the use of data can help teachers make decisions about teaching, and student performances can and do improve. While this sounds familiar, the result can help teachers make substantial gains for every student, not just those at the lower end of the distribution. The procedures use assessment data to help make decisions about teaching strategies. This is not about assessment for learning, it's about assessment for teaching. And teachers work in teams, and team leaders undertake intensive professional development in a range of areas, including leadership, data use, data analysis, teaching strategies, peer reporting procedures. A fundamental characteristic of the process is that teachers report to each other about the strategies they've used, the data they've interpreted and the decisions they've made, successes and failures, and they base their discussions on what the students do, make, say or write, rather than on what they think the student might have learned, understood or thought. The project is grounded in 3 theoretical frameworks. The first is that of criterion referencing, in which an American, Glaser, coined the phrase criterion referenced interpretation. He showed how to monitor a student progress through stages of increasing competence, when we defined the stages by tasks that the students perform, organised in order of increasing difficulty. The second is by a Danish mathematician called George Rasch, and he showed how it was possible to indicate a person's ability equal to the difficulty of the task they were attempting, and when this was the case, the odds of success were 50-50. So if we organise the tasks in order of increasing difficulty and then we track a pupil to the point where the pupil's ability is the same as the task's difficulty, we've found the point where the odds are 50-50. A teacher's task is really just to increase the student's odds of success to better than 50-50. We use a third theoretical framework to explain how to use that information. This is a framework developed by a Russian psychologist called Lev Vygotsky, who identified the process of what's called scaffolding and the zone of proximal development. And this is a point where the student is most likely ready to learn, where the odds are 50-50. Our task is to find that point for every student and then provide the instruction at that stage on the progression of increasing competence. And this is the meaning of scaffolding. To be successful, the process needs to change the way that teacher teams work and how individual instructional strategies are selected. Teachers become adept at directly observed evidence of what students do, say, make or write. And it's from these observations they draw conclusions or inferences about what students know, understand, feel, think or have learned. Instead of reporting to colleagues what the teacher concludes about student learning, we ask the teachers to talk to their peers about what has been observed. This is what evidence-based decision-making entails. While it sounds simple, it can be a difficult transition to make. The teacher team has to change their practice of sharing ideas and change a culture of sharing to a culture of challenge. It's a difficult shift, and in the discussions need to focus on reasons for inferences or a rationale for conclusions and the defence of strategies by focusing on the student's observable behaviour. Teachers develop a strategy then of challenging rather than sharing or endorsing each other's procedures. Equally important is taking a group ownership of all of the students' work. The shift needs to take place from my class, my subject, to our students, and it's an important transition. It involves each member of the teacher team adopting and owning all of the problems and all of the solutions that are accounted by each individual teacher. It needs a new form of accountability. Instead of accountability for increased test scores being reported to the school administration and upwards through the region to the department, accountability must fundamentally take place within the teacher teams and is based in teacher dialogue. It begins with each teacher discussing directly observed teacher action, and the team then discusses what these actions mean and what is a suitable intervention strategy. It continues through a series of meetings with teachers reporting to each other and discussing successes and failures, appropriate and inappropriate resources, the need for professional development, and the evidence-based stories that are of student learning. A fundamental change is the shift from what is a deficit model to a developmental framework. It is not a remedial program. It is about identifying the level or stage of development that a student has reached and, together with colleagues, deciding upon a strategy to move the student from one level to the next. It's not a process of fixing problems, but one that focuses on moving all students forward and upwards through the scale. The role of the team leader is critical. The team leader must organise and chair the meeting using a fixed agenda. The discussion needs to be focused on what the students are doing, saying, making and writing, rather than on what the teachers believe they are learning. The meeting also needs to focus on the professional learning needs of the teachers in order to design and implement intervention strategies. Also, in order to help the team leaders achieve this, they're provided with intensive professional development programs that focus on leadership, the use of data, assessment and reporting, linking data to assessment strategies and helping teachers identify appropriate resources, strategies and monitoring procedures. There is also a need for team leaders to help their team members organise their class for differentiated learning and teaching. The team leaders will have a responsibility of providing leadership, coordinating and supporting the goal setting and strategy selection of teachers, and helping the teachers operate as a team. Throughout the process, the team leader's professional development should help the peer reporting and accountability take root within the school. The leaders are also responsible for increasing and guiding the team's knowledge of theory and practice associated with the descriptions of literacy, numeracy, and whatever the focus of intervention is chosen to be. They are responsible for guiding the values and beliefs of the teachers with respect to differentiated instruction, targeting individual students, matching resources to teaching strategies, and monitoring individual development. They're also responsible for the teacher's skills in targeting and differentiated instruction and steering the classroom management needed for this approach. When these changes are implemented, they can lead to a compelling change in student performance. The team leader's role is complex, it's critical, and it's central to the success of the strategy. Selecting a leader is not a simple matter. Now, this chart illustrates such a reading achievement in a grade 4 class from March in one year to March of the next year. The class made substantial progress. Now, the horizontal axis represents the levels of development or the stages of increasing competence. There are 8 of them. The vertical axis illustrates the percentage of students at each one of the stages of reading comprehension. 2 things are noticeable. The tail of the distribution in the first year of testing has completely disappeared 1 year later. Second, the shift in the distribution shows quite dramatic rises in reading comprehension competence. We know from research that the gains in some schools are better than 5 times the state average gains in statewide achievement levels. The minimum gains amongst these schools was approximately 3 times the state average. These are compelling changes, and they've encouraged us to identify the methods, the materials, the strategies that can lead to gains such as this. We believe that every school and every student can succeed if teachers can work as a team, adopt a set of beliefs and values, learn to report to peers about observed rather than inferred change, implement differentiated instruction based on increased knowledge of theory and practice of the discipline-based instruction, and if the team is responsive to highly skilled and informed team leaders, we can achieve great gains. We look forward to working with you, and we hope that we can identify similar gains in your skills and those of your students.